Hello, Armchair Generals. My name is Tom, and we're returning back to my Japanese campaign in Hearts of Iron 3 using the Black Ice 10.43 mod. I already went through and made sure I was able to save my game successfully. Again, just each time that I start Hearts of Iron 3, I go ahead and save the game immediately just to make sure that it doesn't crash or I won't have any problems further on down the line here. Speaking on saving, I don't have the automatic saves turned on. Let's see if that's an option that we have here under game. Yeah, autosave I have turned off. Mainly because I find that with autosave, it saves it. If you do it monthly, it'll save at the top of the month, which is when most of the events occur. Or if you have it set to like weekly, etc., it'll save at the top of the day, which again is when the events occur. With the autosave, it tends, if you have that turned on, it tends to crash the game if it's trying to do too many things at once. So trying to run an event script at the same time as trying to save the game here for you. So I just do a manual save. I try to perform my saves in this time with no battles going on about every 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere around there. But once we start going to war here with China, I'll be saving a little bit more often than just that. So we left off with working with our production queue. We're building a bunch of units to take the battle to China here. Got a couple armor units that are just basically reinforcements for already existing light armor units that are out there. These will help beef it up a little bit more and make sure they can run on their own. I have a bunch of specialized light infantry. They're very quick. Have a couple coming out here later this year. And I hope to actually, in this episode, finish 1936 entirely. We'll start moving into 1937. I do keep my upgrades and reinforcements to a pretty decent amount just to kind of trickle some IC into them. They can tick off some of their requests that they need. Consumer goods, I try to make sure I maintain that to where I need. And supplies, because I just started the game, is showing that my need is not all that great. That I'll start ticking way up here, probably over 20 IC required. We're over 50,000 supplies total, which is my target that I like to try to arrive at before war starts. And as such, I'll monitor and manage my supplies directly. Diplomacy, we still have trades automated at this point in time. We're actually doing pretty good. I know these are all in red here, but for this time of year and for Japan, this actually is pretty good overall. We are bringing in some metal, quite a bit from the United States, which is nice, and quite a bit of rare materials there from the Netherlands. Otherwise, the AI has me selling quite a few things here, which that's fine. I don't mind selling the crude oil, especially fuel. Don't mind selling fuel supplies because I can build those quite easily. Energy, we are selling quite a bit more than we're producing. May want to address that a little bit here, but then again, we are making about 16 bucks a day here, so probably want to leave that alone for right now. We can run that down quite a bit. That's not a problem. I do have all my naval builds waiting in the wings here. I start off the first 2 years, 1936 and 1937, with a focus on the IJA, the Army, and then after 1937, we'll start focusing solely on the Navy for quite a few years. We want to make sure we get our carriers built. That said, though, these units will all pretty much be finished getting built sometime in 37, maybe mid to later 37. We'll see some IC trickle down into our naval builds, and I have, as such, my carriers pushed to the forefront. I want to make sure that they come out pretty quickly. Now that I've saved it here, one thing I want to do is go through my provinces. I have a rule when it comes to maintaining my infrastructure, especially with Germany. I want to make sure that Germany's got a good infrastructure. If you check here, where is our infrastructure? If you check their, well, I guess we can't because we're not playing Germany. But if you ever check Germany's infrastructure, it's all green. Pretty much it's tens all over here, except for me in the mountains in a couple places. But as you gain conquest, you'll see that your infrastructure starts dropping the further east that you go. So to prepare for Russia as Germany, I do make sure that I get my infrastructure built up. Japan, not worrying about it overly much. There's a port that the majority of our supply will be arriving at here. It's a fairly decent size port for its needs at this point in time. Once we get to war with China, we'll be going here in Tianjin. Actually, I thought that port was a little bit higher than just a one. Um, let's see. Looks like Dalian might be. Yeah, Dalian might be our main source of supply here. I will need to look at making sure that our lines of supply run appropriately as they should. It fortunately doesn't take too much to build infrastructure, but Japan doesn't have all that much IC. A base of 131 at this point in time here. I think that's what they start off with. Their available is a little bit higher than that. But for right now, as you see, we've got a few negatives hitting us here. The Manchukuo National Railway, we're expanding. Thus, it's dropping my IC down by 10%. We got a couple others that are dropping it down as well. As such, I want to make sure that I meet my rule when it comes to IC. And that's my 3, 5, 7, 10 rule. Any province that has a factory in it, I do the same thing with Germany and all other countries I play. I just make sure that it has at a minimum that many IC. In this case, this province here only has 2, so we'll build a third. Now, in Germany and America and a few other places, a few other nations that have the heavy industry, which Japan does not have, I max out the amount of industry that's there. And that's because you gain an extra 50% for each point of heavy industry that you have. So it's quite worth it to make sure that your industry is maxed out in provinces that have heavy industry. It does take a while to build industry. As such, with Japan here, I'm not going to be worrying quite so much about getting the industry built up. I'll be gaining most of my industry, quite honestly, through conquests. But it's good to have this going just for the practicals, and also down the road eventually, probably in the early 40s, I'll be needing some ice, quite a bit of IC, because I'll be having so many resources for my conquest that it's just going to be kind of wasted in a way. I won't be able to really sell all the resources that I have, just because of by the time that happens, I have all the conquests that I need in the early 40s. I won't be able to ship quite so much around to my partners. So as you see, I'm just making sure, if you look here, any area that has industry, I make sure that it reaches that 3, 5, 7, 10 rule here. Majority of my provinces, they've got under 3, so I just try to make sure that they get up to 3. Everything else, just keep plugging away there. I could actually make this simpler if I just hit the keystroke command on it, but it's not too many more here we're going to be upgrading. Okay, so that's all the industry that I can upgrade, Japan, Korea, and here in Taiwan. Technically, I could also upgrade the industry here because I own this province. However, spoiler alert, this will become a future puppet here pretty soon. I think either before war with China starts or very shortly thereafter, becomes Menjiang. And I'm not going to be actually building any industry right now. That's just kind of a preparatory for future, just to remind myself that, hey, I need to make sure that my industry gets built. And as such, anything I put in here is just going to be kind of wasted. I'm not going to be seeing any benefits from that myself. Alrighty, so we've done that here at this point in time. Continuing through, checking everything here. Diplomacy is sitting good. I try to stay around 40 to 50 DI, diplomacy influence. As such, I just keep trickling some DI in there. Espionage, try to keep a single-digit number of free spies available, because when it hits 0, I don't know how far below 0 it's actually going. So I want to make sure that I have at least a couple spies sitting around doing nothing here. As such, my espionage, it'll sit around here where it's at this point. Later on, I'll probably bump it up to gaining half a spy or 3/4 of a spy a day. For right now, where we're at, I wanted to make sure that my officers started getting into the green here, which they have. As such, I want to go ahead and drag this down so we start researching some things here because we really need to. We're nearly halfway through the year, and I've not touched a single thing as far as research goes. So I want to set here at 30. So we're still gaining some officers, about 16 a day, 160 a month at this point here. We're about 8,000 officers off, so that's quite a ways to go before we get up to 100%. I would like to hit about 95% before war starts, because once conflict gets engaged, I'll be losing officers left and right due to battles. So we're good there. Politics, nothing really new to really have to do. With 10.4, there's been some changes in the laws. Definitely want to recommend people take a look at each one individually and just to see what kind of floats their boat. As such, some of the laws got reworked in a way that there's more bonuses and penalties involved in some of the higher laws that you can research. As such, the AI is saying, hey, you need to research these particular laws, but in reality, it's not effective for me at this point in time. And in some cases, it will not be very effective even further on down the road. Industrial policy, though, we're stuck on consumer. Yes, because we want to make sure that our consumer goods during peacetime is kept to 40%. And again, AI is saying, hey, you should get mixed industry so we could get more money and reduce, well, actually, we get less money in that case here. So we'll reduce the IC malice that's happening there. But unfortunately, we would be losing quite a few consumer goods, and we'd be seeing this number here pop way up. So a lot of our IC would have to be shifted over to handling that consumer unrest. Speaking of spies, just kind of reiterate, what I do. I make sure that I'm boosting up my own spies, raising our national unity, and killing those enemy spies that happen to dare make their way on our lands. Germany, I do some tech espionage because Germany has tons of leadership. They get a lot of research, and I want to glean as much as that I can get from them. They're not going to give me anything, so I might as well just steal it for myself, right? UK, same thing. I try to get their tech espionage. They do a lot of research in naval, which will help kind of fill out my blanks as I may have them. But they also have some. You can see here some of their strong tech is theirs in the military aspect as well. I definitely want to get in there too. And Russia is the other place where I get some tech espionage. They do a lot of military tech, which can help fill out my blanks that I have in there, because Japan's mainly a naval power. They have a lot of naval research they need to do, especially the closer we get to 1941. And to help out my good old buddy Germany when it comes time in 1941, we're currently disrupting their national unity. We'll just keep that going. I found that works pretty well from the start of the game. If Japan, throws a little bit in there, because a couple games that I've seen, Germany actually has conquered Russia pretty quickly, early 1942, and gotten the puppets out of it. So I want to kind of press forward with that and see what we do. I did notice, though, we are losing some. We'll be out of rare materials there in 10 days. Yeah, we're not bringing in a lot here. We need at least 10 more. Let's go to diplomacy, see who's got some extra rare materials. Hey, the United States has a surplus. Let us see if they will let us buy. They will. And actually, they'll let us buy more than we have money on. I need at least 10. Whoops, we will. There. We'll do about that. I think we're gaining 16. So we'll do about 11. That way we're still gaining some money. Okay, good. That'll at least eliminate that issue. Metal, I'm definitely losing quite a bit there. Let's see who we might be able to buy some more metal from. Well, the United States, surprisingly enough. Germany as well. They got a surplus of 420. Let's see what we can do to get a few there. If we buy 13, what are we down by? 38. Yeah, let's take a negative hit on our money for right now. And let's make sure that we're going in the green for metal, because these are two that I don't want to see dip too far down. Okay. So we already looked at everything here. There are no decisions need to be made at this point in time. Going to ratchet up the speed here and let things go. I will save the game about mid-June or so. That's that 6-week mark. And here, boom, green. We're losing about, well, actually we're gaining some money. It looks like the AI decided to buy some stuff, so that's cool. And sell, so we're now going down a descent. And that's probably because we took a hit in our IC, perhaps. No? Alrighty, let's see what we need to do here. Supplies are going down. Let's see how far we're going down. Up there, 232, down 248, up 226, down 220. So actually, we're staying pretty good where we need to be. It might be going down a few IC every other day or so, but I think that's fine. I think we're doing pretty good here. Well, we lost some rare material trades. The Netherlands, I guess, cut off my trades there for rares. Let's see if we can't. Not yet for the United States. Yeah, I gotta wait a couple more days there. We'll buy from the Soviet Union, though. They should be able to sell to us. We have plus 31, and we're going down 4. Let's go up 5 for about $8. They should be able to accept that. And they do, so hey, things are looking pretty good now here. Just kind of let time tick away. We're researching currently. Spies are looking pretty good. May need to lower that just a tad, but I think we're all right there. Engineering vehicle, this will give us armored engineer brigade technology, which is cool, but quite honestly, we're not going to be, other than the 3 armor units that I'm building, we're not going to be building any more throughout the game. So yay for 10,000 points to armored engineers. I know this is fairly historical, and this is cool. A lot of the Black Ice events are of this kind of flavor, where it's something that you may not really need or want, but nonetheless, it's something that's pretty cool in a historical means. So we'll go ahead and accept it for right now. We don't have any decisions. We'll just keep things going along here. This has happened. This 226 coup happened way back in episode 2, perhaps. Maybe 3, and this really hit our overall descent, and we kind of righted the ship a little bit by executing the leaders there. We gained a few points there. This is an event that's saying, hey, we can either leave them in Japan, we'll gain some descent, and I think we may then get a unit there in Japan, or we can send them to Manchukuo, where we don't lose or gain anything other than a new unit. Which, if we look here, actually, that guy is there. So maybe we don't gain him just yet. Or no, this is it. Jade unit. Okay. We'll have him march on over. So he's with the rest of his troops over there. This guy, do we have anybody else here? No, we'll head him aboard his transports. For those that might remember, and I need to divvy these guys up here. I have transport set aside in Tokyo because, as you see here, we had an event that spawned a unit. So to get that unit over to where it needs to be, I leave 5 transports over there. That's more than sufficient to handle the task. What I will do is we'll go over here and rebase, because that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll go ahead and drop 5 off there. Do I have, or maybe we won't. Yes, I already have the 5 there. Aha. So you know what now? See, this is what happens when I don't play the game for a little bit. I forget what has transpired. We're going to stop that order here. We're going to create, oh, we can't do it because we're transporting a unit here. Let's drop him back off, get to him. We're going to create a new unit of 6. They are going to come around over to here, where I have the majority of my transport fleets just chilling out. And I think I have do I have? No. I thought I had another transport unit of 6 floating around somewhere. Maybe not. I want to group all those guys together because these are just my battleships, battle cruisers, heavy cruisers, destroyers. I will create fleets out of this mega unit here fairly soon, which I'll show you guys more let's go ahead and get rid of these for right now. And I'm going to group all these guys together for the same thing. I'll be creating my carrier task forces out of that. But I'll just group them together so that way they're just less of an issue. All my subs are there. 3 transport liners. I think I'm missing a transport liner somewhere, but my torpedo boats are there. There's my 5 that I keep in Dalian. Aside from the transport liner unit that I keep in Tokyo, I keep another one in Dalian because when I go into battle here against China and other places, I'll have some units that'll be their ultimate headquarter unit is the Kwangtung Theater here. If any unit just outright dies in China, they just lose all their organization to the point where they just simply fade away, or manpower, I should say. Actually, so lose sufficient manpower to fade away. They'll get rebuilt here in Dalian, even though the events will say the unit gets rebuilt in Tokyo with a cadre of units in the hospital and training units, things like that. Realistically, it's wherever your 6-star general happens to be located. So that's thus this area where I have the transport units. That also is another reason that I've created a 6-star Garrison Island headquarters unit here in Truk. Historically, or I shouldn't say historically, but at the start of the game, you have this 5-star general, and he is tagged out to the 6-star general, the Dalian L, over here in Tokyo. But I have built that 6-star unit mainly to help kind of provide better command and control here. I'll have an appropriate leader here that'll handle defense and offense, while the guy in Tokyo is going to be strictly defense. But also, for the same reason that I have the transport unit in Dalian because of the Kwangtung Theater, any units that may be assigned here for any future conflicts coming down and around here, if they get wiped out, that's where they'll get rebuilt because that's where their 6-star headquarter unit lies. Makes things a little bit easier, cleans things up for me as well. On that note, while I'm here, we'll cut that off here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 passenger liners, 7 passenger liners. Here's where they are. So I was moving them over here so I could drop off the division headquarters. They've got artillery. I think that's that will leave here. We just want to throw some extra strength there. This guy will board back to the unit here. I'll have him rebase over to the Bonin Islands, and he'll drop off that one of the 2 heavy artillery units. He already has artillery, but there's a guy here that doesn't have anything. The other heavy artillery I'll throw onto him there. I try to reinforce these garrison units in the islands a little bit. As we get closer to war with America, there'll be an event that'll provide me a bunch of units, a bunch of brigades that I'll use in such a manner as well. I'll just go through all the islands, just make sure that all my garrisons are sufficiently staffed, because America will like to try to invade some islands once war kicks off. It's good to have each one covered as effectively as possible. So at least I know now where my other navy is. Very handy, this war planner up here. It'll show you where, like, all your units are. And once I have my units set up appropriately here, any new units that appear, I'll be able to click over to here real quick and be able to see where they're at. All my air is, I can take a look and see where they're all located. But pretty much I can tell you they're all here with the exception of the naval. And actually, these guys, I think, are pretty much done the way they are, though I will need to take this unit and seat them individually through my CAS there, the Close Air Assault. Okay. So let time tick along a little bit further. Actually, look at red there. What's going on? Okay. Supplies still over 50,000. I want to tick this up to about 15, so we're not dropping. We were at 56,000. Now we're down to 54, so we're kind of dropping a little bit more than I want to. I need to make sure I keep 22 going here so I can at least make this. We're at 44, which will almost make that second unit as well. I do want to jump up my reinforcements to 10, though, because I don't want to spend the 2 months before war with China starts. I don't want to spend all my IC into throwing in reinforcements. I want to make sure I can keep building units that I need. We'll do the same thing with upgrades here. We'll get that up to 10. This mainly will be for some of the ships, but also my military. Those that any new tech that I get going forward here, which I shall be, will help boost them up. Alrighty, things are looking green. That's good. We're making money. See, one of our first spy events there in Germany, stolen light armor designs. Really, I don't care because it's not going to be a big deal. However, I do have 3 light armor units, light armor divisions out here. So this will be kind of handy. Once upgrades start trickling their way, this will help speed them up, get a little tougher, etc. So this is not something that I would research, and this is why I like to use spies as much as I do. I only have a couple points in spies I'm using each day that I could potentially, of course, throw towards research and gain research tech that I really do need. But this will help me get me things that I'm not going to be researching or can't because I don't really have enough leadership to do so. In some cases, it'll actually get me even higher level tech that I have researched towards yet. Let's go ahead and press on here. We're about halfway through the episode. I want to make sure that I can get to the end of 36 here. So Italy's taken Abyssinia, Somalia. You see the time. Normally, it's between May and July that I see Italy take out Somalia. It's not a very difficult thing. Here's another blueprint that we've stolen. Tank radio communications level 1. Again, not anything that I'd be researching, but with the upgrades I'm throwing, this would be very handy here. This will help overall with my light arm battalions. Will give them a little bit of extra organization there and defensiveness and things like that. We'll crank things along here, and I see that I'm still creeping up. Let's go ahead and save the game. Before we do, I'm going to knock down diplomacy to just gaining 0.3 spies. We'll throw a few more points toward officers. Research is chugging along here. We'll get some stuff later this summer. And now we shall go ahead and save the game. Alrighty, and I'll do follow up to the same, probably the beginning of August. I'll save the game again there. Things are looking good. Bismarck is launched. This is our Minister of Science. There, he's in destroyer, cruiser, capital ship, practicals. We'll see in just a moment what he's actually researched. I do want to replace him out probably by the end of the year, beginning of next year, with my aircraft carrier guy here. Holding off right now because all my other guys take a dip on my money, and I'm doing pretty good on money. I want to get that about 4,000 or 5,000 for a variety of reasons. We need to be buying some strategic resources, chromite for now. In a couple years, in 38, we'll be wanting to get those rare materials, or like for help boost steel production. Trying to think right now what they are aside from chromite. Zinc is one, copper is the other, because of the Vickers steel that we're utilizing as Japan. So I don't want to take too much of a hit on money at this point in time because of future projects I've got coming down the road. So we'll keep this guy going for right now. Plus, with what he is researching, as we can see here, it's everything that I'm not researching at this point in time, but I will need because Japan lives or dies based on how well its Navy is doing. So all this is stuff that I kind of need points to be put into. And we should see him pop up throughout this episode and even next, where he'd be giving some points, 25 to 30 points or so for each area of research there. If you remember, our second episode, I believe, maybe first, one of the decisions that I chose was to support the Abyssinians. That made the Italians kind of mad at us, but that was okay because we'll actually get a unit out of it here. Plus, also, you can see they get a little bit of research gain. I think I have to take a look at that. Yeah. It took a little second there for that to pop up and say we have inefficient research. I try to maintain with my research the same year that we're in 1936. So all my research I try to maintain at 1936 or older, past in time. There are select research categories that I try to stay ahead. This area, these 4, plus the standard and light infantry branch upgrades, reason for these is because it keys into our superpower status. If these techs fall down too low, I think probably at this point below 34, we'll lose our superpower status and we'll take a penalty. I believe it's an organizational hit to our infantry and tanks and things of that nature. So we try to stay on top of this and even ahead. While I did say that Japan lives or dies based upon its navy, and there's carriers and subs, I also try to maintain a very high standard on. We do need to make sure that our military is better than those that we're engaging. So for these techs, I not only stay on top of them, current year or older, I also research 1 year ahead. If you research 1 year ahead, in this case 1937, you don't receive a penalty. But once you go beyond that, the amount of time it takes to research something increases by, I think, 50%. And it increases beyond that even more. So if I were to research, let's see, like this 1940 tech, I think it takes even longer. I think it's even more than 50% of a penalty. I could be wrong on that. So in this case here, we don't want to research these two techs because we got those based upon the lessons learned in Somalia. And that's good. That's 2 techs. We were at 64. That's 2 techs now. We don't need to research until we get into probably 1937. So we'll let that tick off now. Thank you, Illy, for winning that war for yourself there by giving our guys a little bit of extra intelligence of what's going on. Here's our next war that we're going to get involved with. That's the Spanish Civil War. Before this point, it was just the Spanish Republic. Now we got a new player, the Spanish state or the nationalists, Spanish nationalists, while these are Spanish republicans. And I think there'll be a decision here. Yes, send help to Spain. We want to go ahead and do so. In this case, though, we're in Somalia. We said we're going to help out the Somalians, Abyssinians. We didn't have the option to actually help out the Italians there. In this case, we have the choice of who we want to help, the Republicans or the nationalists. Again, this is Spanish state or Spanish nationalists, as they're known. So we want to do the same as we did for the Abyssinians and send full-on help, not just supplies and fuel, but also troops. We'll lose some manpower because of that, but that's all right. Once things are all said and done, we should be getting a unit here, like that surviving militia. Those are the guys that came back from Abyssinia. We should be getting the same thing, I believe, once the Spanish Civil War is all finished. That could be later this year, could be in 37, may even be in 1938. I've seen it go pretty long in some cases. This is just, as you see, the recon cav and surviving militia. It's really not much, but I will use them as island defenders. I'll throw them into a garrison brigade, a detachment that's out there. It doesn't have anybody else, so it'll get them a little bit beefy there. So that's handy to have. And I think they'll also have, well, no, it says 0 experience. I'm about to say that I think they have some experience as well. They cost nothing. It's just time. In this case, it'll come out now. Let's see. There we are. We'll go ahead and pop them onto Tokyo proper. And we're going to go ahead and take these 2 units, board them on up. We have the unit there. I want to go ahead and ship them over here for right now. And we're going to leave one of these heavy artilleries behind while the other one will get picked up and sent down. They have artillery. Whoops. They have artillery, yes. So we're going to send them over there. I'm just going to rebase. Okay. Wait till all our transports get shifted around here. Oh, we stole some British blueprints. Our spies are doing a pretty good job. In a matter of 6 weeks, a little bit less, we've gotten 3 research projects taken care of that we wouldn't ever be researching ourselves. Or in this case, with the gun ability twin engine planes, we would be researching this because we have light and medium bombers, naval bombers as well, flying boats. We would be researching this, but this would be kind of a low priority for us. So this is cool that we got this. They'll make our planes a little bit tougher. I think these guys showed up. Yes. So we want to combine these two guys. So for a garrison unit now, about 4,000 troops, probably more once they get fully reinforced. They got their recon cav, heavy artillery, and militia. They'll be protecting that area. We have this other cav. I'm going to go ahead and board them up. And they're going to come out here and actually have them rebase for the moment. Okay, and I think we had this guy show up here. Yes, heavy artillery. We can combine him with the garrison detachment, makes them a little bit tougher. And what is this? A group of 6 capital ships, or capital ships, but passenger ships. We'll go ahead and send them over to here, where they'll meet up with the rest of my ships here. This is a 5er. The reason I had them rebase is so that way once they're done, I can rebase them over to Tokyo. If I said transport, they would then come right back to here, and I might forget about them and need them over in Tokyo later. We're going red into consumer goods. Let's beef that up a little bit. Otherwise, we're looking good up here. We did drop our supplies quite a bit. Let's beef that up to about 18. There we go. That should go back up to near 50,000 here in a matter of a month or two. Alrighty, looking good. No further decisions are needed. Looking green. AI is doing a good job in trades. In fact, on that note, let's go and take a look and see. I see they're buying fuel. We don't need to buy fuel. We can sell fuel. So let's get our money back on all those fuel trades. That's going to be quite a bit of money coming back here. I mean, it's good to buy fuel, sure. You can see with what we're trading for, we're moving all that actually at this point. We'll make sure that we're still going to be gaining, fuel actually, that we're still going to be gaining enough here. We'll be actually creating some fuel out of our crude oil reserves too. Otherwise, we're doing pretty good with our buys. Yeah, our metal and rare materials are no longer negative. They're actually going up, so that's good. We're not selling anything that we really need as well, so that's good. We could actually sell more stuff. So AI, sell more energy, please. Heck, sell fuel as well, too. More supplies. Okay. These guys have done their job. They dropped off the cav unit. Sending them back to Tokyo here. And our units are set otherwise here. Let's see. We're going to move all these cav and light infantry units over to here. Do a little bit of rearranging, in fact, just to kind of get ready. Every little thing that I can do now to kind of get ready will mean fewer things I got to worry about as we get closer. I like to have my specialized light infantry and cav units on the western side. Their goal will be to blow through these 3 Chinese nations once we get to war and capture them. And then once this is done, they'll come down here to Yunnan. I like to keep my main military units here on the forefront, and they'll push through into Nat China proper. Plus, also support some of the pushes here into Shaanxi and Communist China. We will be getting all of our Marines set up here in Dalian, because as you saw, we do have an assault navy ship here. Once war starts, we'll get an event. They'll give us some other shipping that can be designed for Marine use to invade coastal areas. The first batch I'll have taken these port cities here, and we'll move further on down. Let's go ahead and keep going here. I want to save in August. They've annexed Abyssinia. That's cool. Government secretary focus. What we did at the beginning of the year was, I think, the reorganization of the War Ministry, because everything else that's a negative, and you see we have a 60% chance of actually getting that negative, is really not good for me. If organization drops and unit recruit time goes down by 1.5%, which is just a few days really for most things, that's not a big deal. But if we do get that unit recruit time bonus here, that will actually be kind of handy. Things will get built a little bit quicker. You don't care about territorial pride at this point here. Money would be nice, sure, but those negatives kind of hurt a bit. I may still go for that though, because a 2.5% drop in supplies isn't terrible, and a 5% drop in money isn't terrible either. A 50% increase would actually be much better than a 3% unit recruit time increase. National vote, that would be nice. As you see, we have an actual bonus if that 6% chance happens, but dissent and ruling party support goes down a bit. So actually, I think this time we'll go ahead and nationalize the private sector and see what happens. We'll hover over money here. Let's see. Do I have a negative 2.5% or a positive yet? Maybe I have to let time go by a little bit. Well, I don't see it there. Supplies. I don't see a negative there either. Why don't I see a positive then in this case? Specialist, military, hard. Intriguing. Maybe I clicked the wrong one by accident? Oh well. We will press forward, though, with whatever has been chosen is now policy for the remainder of the year. Speaking of, we want to go ahead and save at this point. It's been a little over 6 weeks, or getting close to it. We have no new decisions. And as I discussed before, with decisions I currently have here, the seaport and road network, I like to let those sit as well as the airport once that gets researched. The only one that will continuously build no matter what is the railroad level. And that's because its bonus that it provides once you do build it is an IC efficiency, which helps your build time and things like that. These very handy for later on, aren't quite so handy when not at war. You can kind of, I hate to call it a cheat, but you can kind of let these stack up. And I do as Germany. I'll let all these stack up except for the railroad, and then once war occurs, I'll go ahead and build them all at once. In some cases, I'll see like the seaport and road network go up about 5 or 6 levels in a matter of a day, which is pretty handy. And you only receive the malus, that negative 5% to IC. You only receive that once. Whereas if I kept on doing this over and over again, we would be seeing that malus over and over and over again. We're pressing forward here. I'll be saving probably about the end of September there. We're doing pretty good here. We're wasting some IC and consumer goods. That's fine. Supplies, I see that jumped up a bit here. That's probably because that jumped up a tad, maybe. So we need to get this up to about 21. I mean, we're not losing a terrible amount of supplies. What's there right now is pretty good, but we don't want to be dropping too far here. So yeah, end of September, I'll go ahead and take a save. So we have the artillery brigades up. That drops off here. Artillery is along the same line as these infantry, 6 infantry techs you got to research. These 4 feed into these 2, the standard and light infantry branch. Artillery is the same way. You have artillery brigades, as long as that's equivalent year, and this is one that, plus these 3, is another research category that I try to make sure I stay on top of, and in fact ahead. This feeds into that superpower strategic effect, where if you let your artillery brigades along with your infantry slide too much, you'll gain those penalties. These 3, the rangefinder, artillery barrel, artillery carriage, that all feeds into artillery brigades. Once these reach a certain level and year, then you'll be able to research artillery brigades. That's why that dropped off. Is I'm not at that point yet with those 3, but we will. Some research starting to come in, which is good to see. Nothing much else, as you can see, kind of happening here. Now, though, as we've started research back in May, we're starting to see the effects of that. And over the next month or 2 here, we'll get a lot more research coming in, probably a good dozen research techs coming in here. Getting kind of close here to the 45-minute mark of my video. I want to wait till probably my next save here before I go ahead and pause it. And I'll start a new episode. I try not to make sure my videos are too long because I don't want to bore you guys. Have you watch an hour or 2 hours worth of videos. Some people, I mean, sure, some people may like that. I just don't. I feel if I can give you short bursts of videos of what I'm doing in a game, then that can kind of better hold your attention there, and you can go and do your other things as you see fit. We have some striking workers. That's okay. These garrison guys can go ahead and take care of them. We can actually watch that battle occur here. Oh, things might not go along too well. On that note here, let me get these transport planes. I'll throw it over here to Yokohama. That's where I like to base my paratroopers and associated transport planes for them. There'll be a paratrooper division that'll get created that I'll move over here to Yokohama. Not that there's any specific reason other than I know that's where it's at now and I can kind of keep an eye on it. And along with that now, I will go ahead and take all these air units and we're going to engage in some ground attacks here. Just for a month. Probably won't even be needed for that long. Give them some experience here fighting these striking workers. I know I'm a cruel, heartless bastard, aren't I? Oh, cool. Infantry anti-tank weapon. That is 1936 tech, so we'll keep researching that. Additional supplies, 1938 tech, so we'll kick that off. Ammunition production, kick that off. Military rations, kick that off as well. 38 tech. We're down to 58 now, which is pretty cool. The nice thing is with these last 3 techs that we just researched, it will should see some negation on this here, I believe, or won't need as well. We'll still need as many supplies, but we'll start creating more supplies, I believe. Radio detection equipment. Well, that dropped off because I probably don't have the prerequisites for more. And infantry guns advanced. Let's see, that's 36 tech. We'll keep researching that as well. We can now get light infantry branch because everything here is the appropriate tech that's needed to get the next step of light infantry, which we want to do because that's 1934 tech. I really don't want to get too far without that being researched further. And we got some more designs here. You see you got some more points going towards the fleet techs here. Let me go ahead and save the game at this point. And I think right now I'll go ahead and pause this video. Thank everyone for watching and tooling along with what I'm doing here. Would recommend if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post that in the comments of the post itself where I have the video, or even in the video in the YouTube. I do like to see who's watching and respond if anybody has any questions. If you have any suggestions for any strategies or tactics in the game, please feel free to provide them, as well as correct me if I'm wrong in anything that I've said. But otherwise, hope everybody has a great day. Take care.